What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Today's positive motivational message is pretty straightforward. Use common sense. Far too often in my everyday life, whether it be at work, whether it's a night out with my friends, and almost exclusively when driving, I run into people who are clearly not using common sense. And this frustrates me to no end. Now, I think what happens most often of the time is so many of us are distracted. So many of us are just not thinking clearly. We're not using the most optimal portions of our brain. And I think a lot of things, too, is we're just trying too hard to get to the point faster. You want to say something like off the top of your head, or you're just using the top of your head, and you're just trying to go too fast. You're trying to figure out the conclusion to the solution without really processing the information. And I'm guilty of this. Trust me, I am guilty of this myself. But if you just slow down for 2 or 3 seconds, if you take in the information and you compute just a little bit, you will find that common sense will click in and things will run a little bit smoother. As I said, the road is a very great place to find people that don't use common sense. Be less distracted. Clear your mind, and for God's sakes, use common sense. And that is the message today. Let's roll it in to today's episode. Let's use a little common sense here and have a great time. It's episode 205 of Life's a Garden. Oh yeah! Thank you so much for joining me here on another exciting episode of Life's a Garden. If you have not done so yet, please follow and subscribe on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Go ahead and drop a comment, leave a like, do all that. It helps grow the algorithm. And a big shout out to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. I know we're on Monday here, but yesterday was Father's Day. Want to shout out all the fathers out there. A lot of my friends have become new dads, and which, is exciting. It's cool. It's great. A little depressing for me to see. I'm not going to lie. I'm mixed feelings. You know what I mean? Because for one, my friends are growing their families. They're expanding onto their lives and making new, beautiful children to help, grow into this dying world, into this horrible dying world. But nonetheless, it is exciting for them. I'm excited to see this. I'm blessed to be a part of their lives and to watch these kids grow up and watch my friends become parents. At the same time, it's a little depressing because, for one, I'm losing out on my friends in the sense of what they used to be to me. Now, we're still obviously friends, but it becomes a little harder to hang out with these guys because they are family guys now. It's a family guy. Yeah, they're full Peter Griffining, but it does make it a little more difficult to hang out with them. Their attitudes change, right? Because now they have to be responsible adults, not like how they used to be with me, irresponsible and acting a fool, which is what I love to do. And then on the side of that, it kind of makes me feel like a little bit of a piece of shit because I'm not doing a lot with my life. This is not true. I have a lot going on, but you know what I mean? You see your friends, you guys used to be like this, and then they're going this direction, you're going this direction, and sometimes it does make you question some of your decisions in life. Even though I'm pretty confident and I'm pretty content with my life and the decisions that I've made. So I only kid. I really do. I kid. I'm very happy for my friends in the decisions they've made and the families and all this. At the same time, I'm confident in my decisions as well. Shout out to all the fathers out there. Shout out to all my good friends who are either new fathers or are soon to be fathers. Shout out to my friend Pow. He will be a first-time dad here in a couple months. My friend Gabe, his kid just turned 1 not long ago. Mac, he has 2 beautiful kids. Who am I missing here? My friend Brad, of course. His kids are teenagers now, which is crazy. So many. God, who else am I missing? I'm sure there's a few. But shout out to all the friends who are dads. Shout out to my Uncle Mike, my cousin Aaron's dad. Shout out to all my uncles, all my cousins, Ezra, Forrest, Uncle John. Shout out to all the family members who are dads. And of course, I would be remiss not to give a heavenly shout out to my own father and to my Uncle Don, who played a role in being a father figure to me as well. So shout out to my dads. It was a little weird waking up this morning and seeing all the Father's Day posts and honestly being like, oh shit, I forgot it was Father's Day. I did not, it wasn't something on the brain because, well, as depressing as this is to say, you can't really celebrate Father's Day when you don't have a father to celebrate with. And that's not to pull the mood down here, folks. It's only a true statement. And nonetheless, I still wish them both a happy Father's Day. And more importantly, well, not more importantly, I guess, but equally as important, I want to wish all the fathers out there who I know and am close to a happy Father's Day. Good job for you guys being good dads. And to all the deadbeat dads out there, go fuck yourself. There's plenty of those out there too. Hey, but let's crack a beer to the good ones, huh? And don't forget to grab yourself a Cutthroat koozie. Got the gray one today. Yeah. Oh, first beer of the day. Gotta love yourself a first beer of the day. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of stuff to talk about in fight news. There has been a lot of crazy shit over the last couple of weeks. Really just the last week, I think. Just this past week, we've had a lot of shakeups. And the first and biggest one, of course, being Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor had to back out of his fight at 303. It was the main event of 303. First time Conor McGregor has ever had to withdraw from a fight due to injury or whatever. He's had plenty of fights canceled on him, and he's always been one to fight anyway. He'll fight on a short notice. He'll fight somebody who he wasn't planning on fighting. He's always been that kind of guy. I have mixed feelings about this. Mostly because I was looking forward to it so much, and it's just upsetting. This is one of the downsides to the fight game. In football, basketball, whatever it is, these are team sports. If your star quarterback gets hurt, the game still goes on as scheduled. It's very rare to see a game get canceled for any other reason. When somebody gets hurt, unless your whole team gets hurt, which never happens, there's so many players on a team, you have reserves. You have people that come in and take over that spot. In fighting, you don't have that option. If you're hurt, you don't get to fight. Obviously. And so, it is upsetting. It's disappointing because not just me. I'm sure a lot of people were looking forward to this. I feel really bad for Michael Chandler. He's had to wait a long time for this fight, and understandably so. This is probably a historic money-making type of fight for a guy like that. That's life-changing money that you should wait for. If you were promised that fight, you should wait for it because that's where the money's at. That's the money fight. You're going to get generational wealth off of that. And so it does suck for Michael Chandler. It sucks for the fans. As far as I understand, it's being postponed, so they hopefully will have this fight sometime this year. I understand it from Conor's standpoint. He's waited 2 years now to come back, and you want to put on the best performance you can. You're not able to do that if you're not healthy. And you're not able to do that if you just won't be able to perform for the fans. You wouldn't be able to give your opponent a fair fight to what they deserve, especially somebody like Michael Chandler who has waited patiently. And if you're Conor McGregor and you want to make this big triumphant comeback, yeah, you're going to want to be healthy. In the fight game, nobody's ever fully healthy. But if you can control certain things, then you got to make that choice. It is disappointing. It sucks we got to wait. But fortunately for the UFC community, we have a guy named Alex Pereira who is increasingly becoming one of my favorite fighters. This dude, and you know, this might come off a little... I don't mean for what I'm about to say to come off any such way, okay? Just understand that. It's rare for me to be a connected fan of a fighter that doesn't speak English. I know that might come off a certain way. I respect anybody who steps in the ring, and there are certain guys I love their fighting style. But it's hard to be a fan of somebody when you can't connect to them on that verbal level. You can't understand what they're saying. The thing with Alex Pereira, though, is he doesn't need to speak. And he really doesn't. I feel like if he did speak English, he'd be one of those guys that doesn't really say a lot. He lets his actions do all the speaking. He doesn't emote a lot. He's very stoic-esque, very statuesque, just in the moment, very straightforward. And when he does speak, it's very short and sweet. It's not very... He's not that guy. He's not like a Conor who half of what he is based on sound clips and based on like that entertainment value. The entertainment value for Alex Pereira comes in the ring. And Alex Pereira has not only saved one massive card this year, now he's going to save two. He saved 303 by stepping up and being the guy that... Now, he didn't go in last minute on that one. That one was scheduled. But when everybody doubted him, when everybody doubted that would be a decent fight, he made sure that you knew why they put him in that position. And now, on 2 weeks' notice, the dude is putting his title on the line. He just fought 2 months ago, 3 months ago. It's very rare for fighters to make, especially title fighters, to make that quick of a turnaround. Now, granted, Pereira knocked out Jamal Hill in the first round, so he came out pretty unscathed. He didn't really need a lot of recovery time after that fight. But he doesn't... When you're a title fighter, you don't have to make these choices. You don't have to be like, yeah, I'll step in on 2 weeks' notice and put my title on the line against one of the against one of the best fighters in the division. Now, I got to give my flowers to Yuri Prochazka as well. Yuri Prochazka is also taking this fight on short notice, which does give this fight a little bit more of an even ground for them because they're both taking it on short notice. So it's not like one has an advantage over the other. Shout out to both of these dudes for stepping up short notice. They obviously aren't going to get a full training camp. And like I said, that is kind of a benefit to both of them, that they're both coming in on short notice. Jamal Hill also had to back out of this fight for injury. We've had a lot of... The original fight was supposed to be Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. Well, Khalil Roundtree got caught with banned substances or some kind of, illegal USADA, whatever. I don't know. It's not USADA anymore, but banned substances is what it is. He got caught using banned substances, so he's out. Then comes in Carlos Ulberg to fight Jamal Hill. Well, then Jamal Hill gets hurt. He's out, which is funny to me because Jamal Hill just talked after losing to Alex Pereira. And now Alex Pereira is coming in to save the fight that Jamal Hill was supposed to fight in, and now he's out. So then Anthony Smith steps up to fight Carlos Ulberg. It's been a lot of just changing. In addition, we have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. This is a great fight. Another short notice fight. So good on both of those guys for stepping up to help save this card. It's a great card still, regardless. From the entire thing through to the prelims, there are a lot of really compelling fights to happen here. So I'm excited for this fight card nonetheless. I just wanted to give my shout out to Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka for stepping up on short notice. Prochazka is in a difficult situation here too, right? Because he already lost to Pereira once. If he loses to Pereira again, he might not get another shot at that title for a while, so long as Pereira is holding the belt. Prochazka is going to have to go through a lot to get that third title shot. If you lose to a guy twice, it's very rare that you get a third shot at them. So Prochazka is putting a lot on the line here too. For a more recent fight coming up, which is next week, this is a big Saudi Arabia card that they've been putting on, and the whole marketing point of this fight was that Khamzat Chimaev was headlining it against Robert Whittaker. I was extremely excited for this fight. Khamzat Chimaev is kind of been known as the boogeyman of the division. Nobody really wants to fight him, is what the narrative is. That he's the guy that's so scary and he's going to be the future champ and all this stuff. Well, Khamzat Chimaev pulls out of the fight. And from what I understand, I might need to look into this a little deeper. The last I looked, it said he pulled out of the fight due to illness. That was a week ago. This fight is what, by the time that he pulled out of the fight, it wasn't until a week later or 2 weeks later. How long do you think you're going to be sick for, guy? Just curious. How long does an illness take? What kind of illness did you have? Maybe it was something more serious. Maybe it was something that would inhibit him from weight cutting. Maybe it's something that hindered his training. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is, I don't ever want to hear Khamzat Chimaev say that he doesn't want to, that nobody wants to fight him, and that he's the baddest man on the planet, and that he's this scary motherfucker, and that he's the future of the division. I don't want to fucking hear it ever again, because you had a guy in Robert Whittaker he's the number 4 fighter in the division, putting his ranking on the line to fight a guy way below him, because Bobby Knuckles is a true badass. He was willing to fight you in Saudi Arabia. I'm pretty sure Khamzat's like a Dagestani guy, but he is Muslim. So it's like, it made sense. It made sense for that fight to be there. And for him to be the star guy. This is another fight card that's very well stacked. I will say this. And it's a free one on ESPN Plus. So you got to check that one out. It's basically a pay-per-view, because there's a lot of big names on that fight. But anyway, yeah, it pisses me off because, like I said, Khamzat walks around acting like he's Mr. fucking badass, and that nobody wants to fight him, and that he can't get a fight because everybody's scared. And then you back out because you're sick? I mean, like I said, I gotta look into it a little more, because if it's something severe that's understandable to back out, and I imagine it would have to be for him to do this. He talks about how he wants to make that money and all this. some people fight when they had staph infections. Some people have fought when they, with like, I'm correct me if I'm wrong here. Anybody might want to look this up. I'm pretty sure Alex Pereira was dealing with a broken foot not too long ago, if not like recently, or broken toes, something like that, after his last fight. And is stepping up on short notice to fight. That is a true champion. Somebody who fights through the injuries, somebody who steps up on short notice. And I have respect for Khamzat Chimaev, but I just don't want to hear him talk that shit no more. I'm over it. Okay? Dude, you had a perfect opportunity to move up in ranking and do what you said you were going to do. Not that I think Bobby Knuckles was going to give him a damn good fight. And now this guy, Alascarov's going to step up. He had a fight this past week, that got canceled. And so he's stepping in for the main event next week. And that could be a pretty tough fight for, it sucks for Whitaker, because now he has to take on a different opponent on short notice. A guy who was preparing, not for Bobby Knuckles, but either way. It's difficult when you have to switch up your opponents real quick like that. It's all kind of fucked up. The UFC rolls with the punches, no pun intended. But, you know, they figure out a way to keep fights going and to plug and play different guys. So, shout out to the UFC. They've managed to keep these cards alive. The Khamzat one pisses me off just because he's such a shit talker and he's such a, like, Mr. Oh, I'm so badass, and then backs out 2 weeks before the fight because he's sick. I mean, you know what? Let me look this up just so I don't feel like a complete douche for shitting all over Khamzat if it was something extremely serious. And I am going to laugh if we find out it was the flu. Khamzat. Let's see. Manager reveals persistent illnesses. So, let's look a little deeper here. Persistent illnesses. Meaning what? Meaning that he was just consistently sick? That he just had like the flu and then had something else after that? That's... If you're Mr. Badass, you don't need to go through a full train. Like, you got guys that are coming in on 2 weeks' notice that are going to fight. You should always be ready to fight, right? If you had to miss a little bit of your training camp, so be it. Like, you should still be good enough to fight, right? If that's what you walk around saying that you are. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really say much about... It doesn't really tell me what he was dealing with. But if it was something serious, it would have come up right away, right? So basically they're saying consistent illnesses, meaning he probably had the flu for a couple days, and then immediately after that had an ear infection, you know, shit like that. Which probably prevented him from being able to train a lot. But like I said, if you're Mr. Badass, if you're Mr. I'm the best in the world, I kill everybody. If that's you, then fuck it. You can fight while you're sick. You know? So don't act like you're Mr. Badass and then fucking back out because you're sick. That's all I gotta say about that. So whatever. Shout out to Bobby Knuckles. Shout out to frickin' Pereira and Prohaska and all these dudes that have stepped up short notice to save some of these big cards. I hope those guys are getting paid big checks. I hope they're cashing fat checks for stepping up and doing this. The UFC owes them a huge debt for that. And I hope they get big pay-per-view points as well. Now, another giant battle that is set to take place here not too long from now. Let me look up the date real quick. I'm looking up a lot of stuff today. The presidential debates I just saw this on the TV the other day. Yes. I want to say it's at the end of June, the first one. Just give me the dates, okay? I want the dates. I swear I saw one in June. Schedule. Anyway, I'm pretty sure one of these is coming up here in June. I saw this come up, and I just got to tell you, this is. I'm not big into this shit. Like, I pay attention enough, but I'm not. I don't watch a lot of debates. I don't watch the fucking rallies, or I'll get the snippets, the bullet points. I'll see all the clips, all the main stuff that happened. But this thing, you better believe June 27th, Thursday, June 27th, is the first presidential debate. And you better believe I will be watching with bated breath. I'm going to be glued to my TV. Because this is at the least going to be so entertaining. You got Trump, who just got convicted on 34 felony counts. And like I said last week, I wasn't sure if he was still eligible. Clearly he is. He's debating. So that's pretty much all Biden's talking points are going to be. They're going to ask Biden about... they're going to ask him shit like the border control stuff. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you plan on fixing this border control stuff and letting these illegal immigrants in? And he's immediately going to twist and be like, hey, what are we talking about here? We got a criminal right here on stage. Oh, man, this bad dude. This bad dude. He's every single question that gets asked, I guarantee you somehow Biden is going to try and eke out the words to say that Trump's a criminal. Like, that's just always going to be the talking point. And if Donald Trump is if he's at all prepared for this and wants to, like, just win this in a landslide and look like the smart guy here, he will he will only talk about the issues and probably throw a couple of jabs at old Joe's way. But all he's got to do is just let Joe Biden talk. Just sit back and let Joe Biden bury himself. In fact, he should be asking Joe Biden serious questions, because you know that these moderators are going to give him like softball questions. They're going to tee him up real easy. It wouldn't even surprise me if he's already been clued in on the questions beforehand and preparing for this and reading a script. And they're going to have to dope this dude up so bad. They're going to have to give him electrolytes and all the Adderall. They're going to have to give him everything they got in the medicine cabinet just to keep this dude awake. What Trump should do is ask him hard-hitting questions and just let him derail himself. Because you know, at some point in this, there's only a few certainties in this debate. One, that Biden is just going to consistently call Trump a criminal. Two, Trump is going to consistently call Biden slow and old and sleepy and, you know, all the shit that he always does. And inevitably, at some point, Joe Biden is going to say something completely delusional or completely just incoherent. He's going to say something completely incoherent that none of us know what the fuck he's talking about. It's going to be some riddle. And then what Trump needs to do, instead of bashing him about it, or instead of like piling onto it, because then it's going to look like he's bullying an old man, Trump just needs to look at the camera and go, like, this is the guy? Can somebody translate that for me? Because I don't have a clue what he said. Like, he just needs to make little barbs like that. He doesn't need to, like, last time when they debated, he just kept interrupting him and kept like derailing him from derailing himself. And that was a huge mistake. He just needs to let Biden talk and talk until he's just completely off the rails, which will eventually happen, especially if Trump does it the way he should. Now, another thing I will have to say about this, it is, and I guess I don't know if it is or isn't yet. I don't know how it's set up, and I can only imagine that Robert Kennedy Jr. will not be in attendance for this debate, even though he should be. That would make this thing... In fact, the Democrats should want Robert Kennedy there because that's one less guy, or that's one extra guy to be focused on that isn't Joe Biden. Like, they're going to be focused on... There's other people to talk about and other things to draw focus away from Joe Biden being incoherent or nodding off on the fucking podium. It is a travesty that Robert Kennedy has not gained the... I won't even say respect. Clearly there's enough people interested in this guy. And the fact that whoever runs these debates, whoever runs the committees and all this shit, they don't give a fuck what the people want. There are enough people in this country that like Robert Kennedy Jr., that follow Robert Kennedy Jr., and like what he stands for, that he should be included in this debate as an independent. We used to have independents run all the time. And now all of a sudden it's back just to like the straight up two-party system. I've always said the independent route is the way to go. That's the way that I've always thought. Now, I'm not saying that you should vote for the independent every time. I'm just saying it should be the third party. You should have an independent party, one that toes the line and sees things on both sides. But of course, they don't want to add him to this because it would just muddy things up, or there's reasons that they don't like him either. He's a problem. Like, every guy's a problem, right? But it is unfortunate, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope he is there. I hope he's able to attend and speak his points and be able to, he doesn't speak very well, but hopefully he can lay out his points and let the other two just bust each other up while he's the only one that stays down the middle and he's the only one that's focused and says all the right things. That's the guy. Robert Kennedy's the guy. That's who I'm voting for. That's who I want. And hopefully he will be in attendance to that debate. But, as I said before, I will be watching 100% because there's going to be so much that I'm going to have to talk about with that on here. And it's going to be, at the least, very entertaining. I'm actually shocked that they're even doing it, to be honest with you. I'm shocked that they're actually going to put Joe Biden up there and let him talk. Especially to a guy like Donald Trump. Like I said, Donald Trump is going to do whatever he can to derail that guy. Because once it goes off script for old Joe, it becomes a problem. And there's going to be plenty of sound bites to come off of that one. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Have you guys heard about this Amazon tribe that was given internet access? So there's this Amazon tribe. I can't remember the name of the tribe, but they were recently given connection to the Starlink satellite system. I think they must have been given tablets or phones or something like that. And I don't know, honestly, I don't even understand why this happened in the first place. They said it was because it would help. This is like, obviously they must be a contacted tribe. They're not like an uncontacted tribe. But they, I don't understand. I don't know the dynamic here. I don't know why they were given all this technology. But they said it was to help them to receive medical help if they needed to, or if in an emergency, things like that, or to help educate them perhaps on like different things. Obviously, it would probably take an extreme amount of time to teach them how to operate these things. Like I said, I don't know how disconnected this tribe is to like the outside world. I don't know what their interaction with human, or with modern technology and things like that. I'm not sure. It has to be somewhere in the middle, right? They wouldn't just choose some uncontacted tribe that doesn't understand anything, right? Because that would just be like magic to them. They have to know a little bit about technology, right? They'd have to. Even if they were willing to accept the phones and the internet access and all that stuff. Well, all the things that they thought they were supplying these people with didn't quite go the way that they had hoped. This tribe, within 2 weeks, was addicted to TikTok and addicted to pornography. Like, instantly. And my thought on all that is, duh. You're going to give a bunch of young, like, there's teenagers and there's younger members to this tribe. You're going to give them access to the phones. And you don't think within minutes they're going to find pornography? Just because they're a tribe and they have traditions and they have all these ways about them doesn't make them not primal people. It's primal to, like, sex is primal. So obviously, they're gonna go find it. And apparently, this tribe has just completely become lazy and overly sexual, and like it's completely destroyed this tribe's values. Like, they've been overly hypersexual, they've been not doing their work or whatever they need to be doing to help the tribe out, to help everybody out. It's within 2 weeks of having a cell phone, it turned this community. This was a community tribe that looked out for one another, that did their jobs, that worked together. It completely divided them, made them it made them like horny, lazy, just degenerates, basically. Okay? It degeneratized these community hardworking people in this tribe. And the chief was just like, this is devastating to this. Like, how did this happen? Now, think about what phones have done to our society in just a matter of, like, I mean, if that happened to that tribe in 2 weeks, what's happened to us in 10 years? You know? We've obviously seen the degeneratization of our own society. But if it happened to them that quick, we've been in a constant state of that for 10 years. Now my thought, like the porn stuff and the TikTok and all that stuff, that makes the most sense. It makes common sense if you really think about it. Like, obviously, like, you're going to give these guys this technology and not expect them why wouldn't you put porn blockers on there? Like, what? That wasn't even what I thought about when I first heard about this. My thought is, oh, that is the other thing. They're seeing all these people who have, like, cars and are living in luxury, because that's mostly what TikTok is, you know. But you're seeing all these luxuries, all these, like, people in homes, people in with super technology and everything that makes life so much easier. And you're giving it to these people in the rainforest who are living in what I can assume are like huts, and they're definitely not living on the grid, although they must have some kind of electricity if they have phones and shit now. I don't know. I'm being ignorant about a lot of this, but it just, if they're a tribe in the rainforest, they clearly don't have quite the amenities that people in the West have. So you're seeing this on a phone, and I'm sure the first thought to some of these young people are, what the fuck are we doing out here? Like, look at all this. Look at what's available. Look what's out there in the world. And we're here? I'm wearing a loincloth? Like, I'm killing things with a stick, and there's guns out there? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Wouldn't that run through your head? And that also made me think, hey, we live in 2024. We have all of this stuff. We have all this technology, all these luxuries that make life just so much easier. Cars, flight. Can you imagine being in a tribe and seeing a plane? I mean, cell phones. Just everything that we create is to make our lives easier, to make things smoother. It's 2024. Here's what I gotta say. Don't be in a tribe. Hey, if it's 2024 and you're still in a Amazonian tribe, don't. Just don't do that. Like, I get that some people, can't just leave that. I get that there's places that have tradition and keep tradition alive and yada, yada, yada. Dude, don't. How about just don't do that? How about assimilate and live? Like, we already only live here for a short amount of time as it is. And if you're living in those conditions, I guarantee you your life expectancy goes down quite a bit. If you're in a tribe and you find out, shit, I don't have to be afraid that a jaguar is going to drag me off in the middle of the night because I can have a house that has locks and doors and is made out of solid material, and I can have a gun to protect me if somebody were to break in. Hey, maybe this whole tribe thing ain't for me. Don't live in a tribe. And furthermore, that makes me think about like the Amish or the Mennonites and people like that who live off the grid and they live like it's, 1600 or 1700. They live like it's a goddamn Renaissance fair. Hey, don't do that either. You're still riding a horse and buggy? Hey, what you doing? Why? You don't have to. And that's me being a spoiled Westerner talking. That's me being a guy that, lives relatively in luxury compared to a lot of people, compared to these people. I have a lot of things. Shit. A nice cozy bed, electricity, heat in the winter, and AC in the summer. All these little things just make life comfortable. And they make life easier. Now, granted, if the grid were to go down, those people have the edge, and I'm fucked. So there is, give and take here. But until that happens, I'm living relatively comfortably, and they're not. And it just, plus the access to information, everything is just all at our fingertips, essentially. So for these people, for the people in the tribes and the people in the Mennonite communities and all that, what you doing? And, I go back and forth here. I go back and forth because I'm sure look what it did to this tribe. It made them, it tore away their values. It made them, for lack of a better term, savages. And I don't mean that in a negative I don't mean it in the connotation that they're a tribe and they're a tribe of savages. That's not what I mean. And that's honestly kind of funny to think about. You would assume that they're already savages, and I use that word loosely, That's what like the general thought would be. But I'm sure they were a kind community and like actually had like values to their system. You give them a phone, they learn about all this Western shit, all this the luxuries and the narcissism in the world and all the football players making millions of dollars and lavish fancy foods, things like that. They learn about all the spoils in life. And they immediately become actual savages. They become savage thought, like, I must fuck, I must eat, I must be a glutton, I must, live in squat or live in just pleasure. So it really did degeneratize them. And so there is true thought in the idea of being in a community like that, or to be in a tribe, or to be in there are certain thoughts of why that is important, or why people want to hold those values and keep away from a lot of the Western pleasures and things like that. Nonetheless, you can still live with all this stuff and have moral values and have self-control and things like that. You know what I mean? We have plenty of people that do it. So ultimately, when I come back around to it, I still think, hey, don't be in a tribe. Don't be in a colony or community. Like, be in a community, but don't be in a secluded, living like you're in the fucking 1700s. Okay? You don't. That time has passed. Live in the present. Live with the technologies we have. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that shit even exists still in today's world. Like, there's still people that just live off the land. And the funny thing is, those shows like Breaking Amish or whatever it is, where they let, there's like a certain point in when they're turning like 18 or something like that they let them go out and experience the world and technology and bar, just go out and do all that and experience the real world, essentially. Most of those people that don't come back to the community. They live in the lavish comforts and pleasures that the Western world has brought upon them. Now, you could also call that Sodom and Gomorrah. That's a way to look at it as well. And maybe my take on this is absolutely wrong. Very well could be. I was very contradictory towards myself in a lot of that, but we're just thinking things out in real time. Ultimately, though, I'm pretty content with my life. I don't think I would abandon what I have now to go live in the rainforest. Just saying. So I understand why the people in the rainforest would want to come do this. It's pretty nice. It's pretty cozy. Just saying. Now, on the topic of common sense, this is a little bit of an old story here, so I'm not gonna... I hate that I'm bringing it up now, but it's just been on my list for a minute, and I need to just talk about it. Short while ago, there was a news story running across Facebook that I kept seeing, and it was something to do with Jim Carrey he was traveling through Missoula, and he broke down, and somebody stopped and helped him, got his car taken to the local shop, and they went out to have a bite to eat at a local diner, and how Jim Carrey just thought that the local people of Missoula were so nice, and that it's a beautiful community. Speaking of communities, it's a great community of people, and that he was just delighted to be a part of this experience and to meet these people and for all of that. Well, I hate to break it to you all, just using a little bit of common sense here, that story wasn't real. It took me about 2 seconds of reading that thing to realize, oh, this is fake. And it didn't help that a couple years before this, the exact same story was told about Adam Sandler breaking down here in Billings, Montana, and attending a different local restaurant that, so they just substituted the names, they substituted the places, and it was the exact same story. So I already knew that this was a fake. The only reason I bring this up is because people are way too gullible. The amount of people I saw share that story, as I said, it was blowing up my Facebook feed for a long time because I kept seeing it pop up. And then you go to the comments, and rather than seeing what I had hoped to see, which was, this is fake, are you stupid, this is fake. What I instead saw was, the people of Missoula really are just so great. Oh, this is such a great story. I love that he enjoyed his time here. Oh, this is just a heartwarming story. It was all shit like this. So they all bought it too. Now, the moral of the story isn't that people are people are gullible. That is the moral intentionally, but if you believe that Jim Carrey broke down in Missoula, think about what you're going to believe this election cycle or anytime big crazy news gets broadcast to you. If you believe that that was true when it clearly was not, what else are you going to believe in your Facebook timeline? What other elaborate stories are you going to buy or already have bought? I'm just saying. Something to think about. Don't be so gullible. Have a little common sense. And it made sense for me to bring that story up. I was actually going to not even talk about it since it's been such a minute. It's been quite a few weeks since that story even came out, or since I was reading that on Facebook. But because the message of this episode was common sense, I had to at least bring that one up because, come on, guys. Just take 2 seconds. All you got to do is think, why the fuck would Jim Carrey be in Missoula? That's the first thought. Not only why would he be in Missoula, but better yet, here's a real question. Why would he be driving through Missoula? If he was actually going to Missoula, don't you think he would fly in and then have somebody else drive him? And also, if that was a real story, Jim Carrey ain't just some guy. Everybody knows who Jim Carrey is. Don't you think that there would be a shitload of people taking pictures with him and posting them on Facebook and being like, look who was in Missoula? Don't you think? Come on. Just, again, common sense. Just think for 2 seconds and put the pieces of the puzzle together, and you will find out real quick, hey, that didn't actually happen. Sorry to break everybody's hearts. Jim Carrey was not in Missoula. And Adam Sandler was not in Billings 2 years ago. Actually, funny story, I'll make it quick. I just met one of the guys from Whose Line Is It Anyway the other night. Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis was one of the guys back during when the show was on who kind of he was one of the revolving people. Because you always had Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, and Wayne Brady were always the three main guys. And then obviously Drew Carey was the host. And then you had that fourth person. It was always either, I think her name was Carrie or Brad or Jeff was one of them. And then there was Chet, I think was his name. Chet. And who was the last one? Greg. Ha! Got it. It was Greg. Yeah. It was those guys were always the revolving ones. But I met Jeff the other day. And he was down at the Crystal of all places because they just had a show down here. They had a show at the Alberta Bear. And then I just went to the Crystal on a whim. Totally forgot that show was happening. I'm sitting there. I see Jeff go up and start singing. I'm like, I recognize this guy. And I see him. He's wearing his suit like he always does. And I'm just like, and I looked up his name because Michael May said his name was Jeff. I go, Jeff, whose line is it anyway? Boom. There's his face pops up. As soon as he was done singing, I went up and I was like, hey, are you Jeff Davis? Shake his hand. Super nice guy. Bought me a drink. And that was pretty much it. It was just pretty cool to actually meet somebody like that randomly at the Crystal. So yeah. We're going to end this episode. I just want to give you a couple recommendations of shows to watch because I've recently watched a couple of new shows that are really, really good that I think you should watch as well. So I'm just going to give you a couple recommendations of shows. These are comedies. One's kind of a comedy drama. It's called Loudermilk. It's on Netflix. I can't remember the name of the main guy, but Will Sasso's in it. It's about a guy who's in recovery and he leads a recovery meeting, and it's a whole story. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on in it. It's funny. It's really funny. I've already watched all of season 1. I'm on to season 2. Very compelling show. Go check out Loudermilk on Netflix. And while you're on Netflix, my highest recommendation of a show you got to watch is Tires. It's with Shane Gillis, and it's got a bunch of great comedians in it. It's only 6 episodes. They've already been renewed for season 2. But those 6 episodes, I think they got to be half-hour episodes, yeah. Maybe they're 45. I don't remember. They got to be half-hour long episodes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, great show. Hilarious. Laughed my ass off. I watched it twice. It's a great show. So go watch Tires on Netflix. Those are my recommendations. And then, my God, the wait is over because this last weekend, so tonight on Monday is when I'm going to be watching it. The return of dun 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 House of the Dragon. Yes, House of the Dragon is back. I will be watching those with my mom. Me and my mom watched them last year or 2 years ago, whenever it came out. And we are very excited to watch season 2. So those are all my show recommendations. Hope you guys, especially the first 2, if you need a good laugh, those are some good, fun shows that you may or may not have seen yet. So thank you all so much for joining me this week. I really do appreciate it, as always. Happy Father's Day again to all the fathers out there. Just want to let you guys know that you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And just have a little common sense. That's all it takes for everybody out there. Not just the dads, but to everybody. Just use a little common sense. Your life will be a little bit easier for it. Trust me. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.